Welcome, everybody, to your WWE Survivor Series WarGames 2023 TwitWow preview and predictions. John, we've kind of addressed already that this is a bit of a smaller card, but the special thing that makes it pop is that the reason it's a smaller card is because two of these matches are War Games matches, and those average like between 35 and 40 minutes under the WWE umbrella. So, all that being said, I want to get a number now. We like to do this before we get into preview predictions, and we get really into the deep part where we start actually talking about the show. How you feeling, man? What's your hype level?
First of all, great to be here. Excited to preview and predict this show. The Survivor Series is an interesting case, man, because if we're just looking, and we always like to do things on a numerical scale. If we're looking at just the War Games matches, I would say my hype is, I'll even say a 9 out of 10 because I'm really, 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 really psyched for women's War Games, and men's War Games should be fun, but JD McDonough is in a main event spot, and that makes me I don't know how Dominic will do in the environment. I'm sure he'll be all right. And there's still the looming question, which I don't even know if we'll talk about it. I'll leave that to your discretion of, will CM Punk show up or not? And I've been seeing that ramp up a lot in the last few days. However, when you get to the undercard, while I am looking forward to Santos versus Carlito, just to see that daddy put that
No.
interloper in his
See, you missed SmackDown tonight, so you don't know. Carlito is not going to be in that match. It's going to be Santos versus Dragon Lee.
that ups it considerably. I did see. Well, here's the thing. I saw that Carlito got jumped because I actually did watch that clip earlier. I just didn't know that it dovetailed into that. And I've heard speculation that Dragon Lee might even be brought in for LWO anyway, so that's also nice. That's gonna be a banger. But here's the thing. In that same undercard, you have Gunther versus Miz, which shouldn't be offensive or anything, but I just think Gunther is such an unstoppable force. Miz being the one to defeat him just has no believability to me personally. And then, worst of all, Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark. I will have more to say about that match. I don't want to just give all the game away in the preamble, but all of this to say that if we were looking at the undercard, I'd be, if I'm honest with you, more at a maybe a 6.5, at best a 7, but I'm going to stick to 6.5 out of 10. So, really, what this comes down to is I think ultimately, even though I know this isn't exactly accurate math because 6.5, plus 9, that would be 15.5 divided by 2. That's like what, 7.25? So yeah, that's probably where I am overall for this show as a 7.25, but I would even round it up to like an 8 even out of 10. I just feel like the undercard drags it down considerably, and I do feel like women's War Games between the two is carrying this. I'm more curious though how you feel.
Well, you kind of broke it down pretty well. I think I'm less excited about the men's war game than either you or my mom, just because, like, sure, it's exciting that Orton's coming back, but that's the only part of that entire match that's really appealing to me, honestly.
Yes.
Um, I was talking to my mom earlier, and I was like, women's war games to me is like 11 out of 10 hype level. Men's is like 4.
Yeah.
Dragon Lee Santos is like 8 though. That's exciting. And then like the Carlito match was like a 7, but then Dragon Lee makes it like an 8.
Dude, they are gonna cook. They are
But
gonna
then like
cook, bro.
but then like Gunther and the Miz is like another 4, and then like Rhea versus Zoe is like a 5. So
I'm
like
surprised you, dude. Can I just say, not to cut you off, I'm actually surprised you rate that slightly above Gunther Miz. Because if I was using your numbers, I think Zoe is an utter bore, and this is such a waste of Rhea Ripley on this card to me. Again, I don't want to give the whole game away,
I
but when
think
we actually
Zoe
get this match,
is
yeah,
like in the negatives out of 10 as a
yeah,
promo, but in the ring she's like a solid 7ish out of 10.
yeah, I can see that. I can see when you break it
Whereas the
down like
Miz
that.
is like the
What, man?
exact opposite. The Miz is like a 6 out of 10 in the ring and then like a 9 out of 10 on the mic.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot to say, or I should say that I'm gonna have a bit to say about both these matches when we get to them. Oh, look, Superior Paul is here. How you doing, you
Hi,
handsome
Paul.
fucking snack? I don't know if Paul is ever gonna sue us because I hit on him every stream, but Paul, you know what I'm about. So yeah, and Foster too. Come to think of it, God, we're gonna have a class action lawsuit, and it's all my fault. But I am ready. Actually, no. So to wrap it all up, what would you say your final numerical score is like for the show? Because I rounded up very generously to an 8 when it should be more likely a 7.25 based on my own math. But I am gonna go with an 8 instead, just because that feels more honest ultimately. What about you? Where are you feeling on this
Hmm.
show?
7.
So once again, we continue the tradition of one above or one below. So there
If
we
I
go.
was, again, I'm similar to you in the sense that if I was being completely honest to my own numbers, it would be
Yeah.
6.5. But like
Yes.
the women's war games match just has me so hyped.
Dude, I will say, like, women's war games, I won't say the Survivor Series looks like complete ass, right? I'm not here to do hyperbole, but I would still say the women's war games is kind of carrying the show for me low key. So, like, yeah,
It's like
let's
women's
fucking go
war
there.
games is way up here, like I'm holding my hand way up above my head. And then like Dragon Lee versus Santos is still like up here. That's like slightly above my head, and everything else is down here, like way below everything.
Yeah.
And like the thing about men's war games is like I say it's a 4 out of 10, but like Sami Zayn's in it, and I love Sami Zayn.
Dude, I don't even want to get into that because that could be a whole separate
And
commentary.
like
Because I not that I'm like, oh, I hate Sami Zayn, but I'm the same as you, and I'm like, he's probably not winning a world title at Mania, and that's such a fucking waste of him. I swear to God, like,
Drew
dude's so
McIntyre's
ready.
in it, and even though he's on like a shitty team because he's with them, he's still in it, and that's exciting. I
Yes,
think
yeah,
Cody and Don't Google Me being in this just ruins it for me.
yeah. I totally get that, bro. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we can get into our discussions now. So I would say, being realistic, because it's the only non-war games, non-title match on the card, we should probably just talk about Dragon Lee Santos first.
Oh, you mean Daddy and Dragon Lee? Yeah, let's do that. I have been loving Heel Santos. I hearing that Chrome Cartel theme when he came out to put Carlito in his place for, destroying his family and being a homewrecker more or less, was music to my ears. I've loved his drip since turning heel. Again, that Tony Montana kind of vibe. And yeah, Carlito, here's the thing. I still want that match to happen because I do think it has emotional heft. And I do think Carlito is solid in the ring as well. In fact, I've even seen people be like, oh, it'd be cool if Primo came back and you'd have Primo and Carlito, teaming up again. There's no telling who's going to get involved in this because you've seen the reports just as I have that they're looking for Santos to no longer run with Cruz and Joaquin, but with Angel and Umberto, which I think would be an awesome trio. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Just looking at this match for what it is, I think Dragon Lee is going to have a clinic, but I do ultimately see Santos winning. He has to. He has the heat right now. You need to build him to presumably a match with Ray, possibly even at Mania. That could be his big Mania program. But I will say though, for Dragon Lee fans, I it does kind of suck because I will express to you, bro, one concern I have with Dragon Lee in this company is that he's just going to be that guy that has the really, really good matches, but doesn't really win like big matches. I know he's beaten like Cedric twice, so Cedric's kind of in that role right now where it's like go on, fire the crowd up, but you're not going to win. I just don't want to see Dragon Lee in that position in like a few months, and I have a worry. Maybe it's unfounded, but yeah, Santos for the win right now. It just needs to be that way. What do you think?
I think Santos needs to win, and I'm even willing to accept Santos winning because he has help, and it's the debut of the Garzas.
Yes. Oh my God. See, even Dom is like Daddy Santos. See, we all understand this was all your fault, Carlito. And honestly, all your fault, Ray. Don't be so easily influenced. What kind of a father are you? Jesus. Anyway, what's our next matchup?
Our next matchup is let's talk about Gunther Miz.
Not really much to say, man. Gunther retains. Like
Yeah,
if Miz won, that'd be fucking laughable given the people that Gunther has survived
that's
and really been
yeah.
straight up beaten. So yeah.
I've actually seen multiple people now, including my mom, suggest like, what if the Miz won though?
No. No. I'm sorry. I don't even mean to be me with that. I fundamentally reject that premise.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's
Like,
especially because now we've got this whole story going on. Which, God, it would be unfortunate if he was the reason. But we've got this whole story going on now with, um, I'm trying to think of his new name again. I'm still not used to it. I still want to call him Marcel Bartel.
Giovanni Vinci?
Nope, that's the wrong one. That's
Ludwig
Fabian
Kaiser?
Eichner. Yeah, Ludwig Kaiser. Thank you. He's kind of turning face right now.
Yes, he is.
And I hope that he doesn't turn face ultimately by costing Gunther the title. That would be shitty. I would hope that if they were really trying to build him, that they would have him turn face and then maybe even potentially challenge Gunther for the title. I don't know if I would really want him to be the one to take it off of him, but like you could you could tell that story without having him cost Gunther the title. Like I don't know, it seems
See, no, this is me turning up a little because the point is to turn face, not lose fucking face. And if he screws Gunther out of this, he'll get the shit beat out of him. And you know what I'm gonna do? I won't even say nothing because I'm gonna laugh, and that is something. Don't fuck with this, Ludwig. Christ.
yeah, that's my concern personally.
Bro, I'll be honest with you, and this isn't even a criticism per se because they've done well by certain other challengers. But when Sheamus didn't end it, I was like, okay, keep it on him indefinitely. Then when you built Gable up, and now it's seemingly going to take a while for them to circle back to him, I'm like, keep it on him indefinitely. Like Miz hasn't gotten the buildup of either one of those guys, and honestly, even if he would get the buildup, I just find him so uncompelling in ring, as you were saying earlier, that I'm like, Miz has done his best work. Like the reign that he had as Intercontinental Champion, where he had that promo on Bryan on Talking Smack, that was his peak. I'm like, you're never gonna have an IC title reign better than that one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what else could you do for the title? So yeah, just absolutely going through wins. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Then we've got Rhea Zoe. Again, I think it's pretty cut and dry that Rhea retains here. I think there's more of a chance that the Miz wins with help from give me the name, good Ludwig Kaiser,
Yes.
than any shot Zoe beats Rhea.
Yeah. Yeah, just very quickly because I don't want to belabor the point because just to get right to it, I do agree with you, of course, 1,000%. But I'm like, man, I love Rhea, and I think Rhea's fantastic. And I think when she gets to eat, like when she has a dance partner she can really work with, she really makes the case for being one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And to be fair, you should still be able to make that case even when you're with a shitter. That's why I feel like when Bayley had that whole SmackDown Women's Championship reign, that was the year she made her case because she got a good match even out of Tamina. So I think this will be a good match because Zoe isn't even a shitter. She's just so boring. And like I will say too, in her slight defense, I don't think WWE has done right by her either. How have they really made her a compelling babyface? They had her lay Trish out, but that doesn't even lead to a program. Like Trish never formally put her over. You know what I mean? And Trish was supposed to be this heel at the time. I just feel like they've really kind of fumbled the bag with Zoe, and there wasn't even that much of a bag to fumble to begin with. So when you've got those things together, it's like, I just hope that the women's title isn't going to the wayside because the bulk of Rhea's interest, the bulk of her value as a television persona is leading the Judgment Day. And so that there's a lot of moving interconnected parts here, and I'm uncertain about a lot. But yeah, I do think Rhea deserved a better challenger, but she retains 100%. So next matchup.
Yep. Next up, we'll do one of the War Games matches. I'll let you. I mean, we might as well start with the men's, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Um, So I'm gonna start with a question to you because I want you to kind of just give your thoughts first on this War Games match, but I want to orient it around a question. So we know Orton's coming back. Do we think, and I'm gonna phrase it like this in the most plausible terms possible. I don't want to go out of left field with you. After the match, because I don't see any betrayals happening during the match, that he RKO's either Jay or Cody, and that's like the next major singles program for either one of those guys is Orton. Do you see
I
that happening or no?
I fully expect it to be Jay.
Okay. So with that established, I was going to ask a follow up if you think Cody and Orton will feud at any point because I personally could see that, but rather I just want you to give your full thoughts on this men's War Games, who you think will win, any thoughts you have on it, all that stuff.
I mean, I I kind of already talked about it a little bit. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
stoked about Sammy being in this. Um, it's kind of exciting to see Seth Rollins in this. It's cool to see Jay in this outside of the context of the bloodline for once, finally.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and as far as Judgment Day, like, God, this would be so much better if Dom and JD weren't a part of it. I know you don't agree about the Dom part because you still like him, but like, he and JD to me are just such, like, they just ruin the whole thing for me. And Cody, of course. Cody ruins it too. It's just bad. But like Priest and Balor being in it is cool. Drew being in it is cool. I'm excited about 80% of this match, but the 20% that I'm not excited about, I'm like loathing and dreading. You know what I mean?
Yes, just to nip this in the ass immediately, Super Blue, I already made a promise that after Priest didn't cash in at a certain point, I was gonna stop, and Ashton stopped even before I did. So I'm not even touching the briefcase discourse. Absolutely, absolutely not. I'm not even going to speculate on that. But I do agree with you, Ashton, that that is what kind of hampers men's war games for me is that there is some quality talent here. Balor, especially. Like, I'm excited to see a man with that fucking work rate in this cage because, as you said at the start, these matches go 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So, like, and if Balor starts this thing, which I think there's a good chance he starts this thing for the record, it's just going to be a marvel to watch him do his thing. And Priest, not to shortchange him, dude's had a hell of a year, dude. Like, Priest has done really well for himself this year, and not even in like a kayfabe sense, although he hasn't slacked there either, but just quietly putting on these really solid performances
So do
and
you
showing
think
that he's
one
a
of
really
the
good
three
worker.
real workhorses or the fake workhorse opens the match for the babyface team?
Fake horror course being JD McDonald's.
For the babyface team.
Oh, for the baby facing. Well, God, Cody is so indulgent, dude, and his dad has such a history with war games. I feel like he'll probably want to open it.
Yeah,
I could see
that
that.
would be the fake workhorse right there.
There you go. There you go. Um, so we agree though that babyface team wins? Because like I personally feel like they do, unless they really want to make Judgment Day feel on par with the Bloodline, then they would have to win this in my mind. But I just see the babyface taking it. It's Orton's return. How do you
Yes.
have him lose on his return?
Yeah, I think this is a clear-cut babyface team victory. I think it's kind of interesting though because we have the two heel champions winning. We have the
Yes.
heel winning the singles match that's not a title match. But we have the babyfaces winning the War Games match, and then we have one other War Games match to transition now. Since did you have more to say about the men's War Games?
Oh no, bro. You go.
So then, yeah,
You're
to
cooking.
transition the other War Games match, does the other War Games match have a babyface team victory as well with Bianca, Charlotte, Becky, and Shotzi getting the dub over the new Damage Control, which is basically Joshi's plus Bailey and kind of Dakota being like the in between.
I mean, all right, man. I'm gonna volley this back to you because I know you love so many women in this
Actually, you know
compared
what?
to the
I
men.
am really sorry to break this up. I don't like to normally do this, but I did want to address something that Super Blue brought up earlier, and you might have even addressed, but I kind of zoned out a little bit. What do we think the possibility is of Priest cashing in on Seth during or after the War Games match?
God damn it, you did zone out because I did address this. I even said that we weren't going to talk about this because the last time that he didn't cash in when I thought he would, I made you a promise that I would stop bringing it up on here, and you even stopped bringing it up before I did. If you want to talk
The
about
only
this, if
reason that
you
I
want to
even
talk about it,
brought it up is because I just think it's a hilarious idea that like maybe Priest and Seth open, and then since the Judgment Day has the advantage, maybe like Balor comes in and we get a 2-on-1 beatdown Priest and Balor, and Priest cashes in and can't get the win before the next member of the babyface team comes out, and the fucking briefcase is just active throughout the whole match, and then whoever gets the winning pin wins the world title. Like that's the kind of shit that is interesting to me.
okay. So can I just answer you honestly, point by point? While this would be the most interesting cash in I think we've ever seen, it
Yeah.
would also be the stupidest.
Well, and
Like
especially
genuinely,
because it's like Seth, and Seth had the one interesting non-regular singles match cash in that we've ever seen, where he cashed in during a match that was already going to make it a triple threat.
yes. Yeah, I do think it'd be the most interesting cash in we've ever seen, but I also think it would be the stupidest. Like to me personally, if Priest would do this, he'd look stupider than Corbin. And Corbin looked bad when his all happened. And that's because like why? Like why with a match with so much calamity? Because here's the thing, a triple threat can be chaotic, but that's still more of a controlled chaos than a freaking war games. Like I feel like in a war games, everything is happening in every second, especially when the ring gets full, right? And you just said if he can't get the pin before the next babyface member shows up, it's like you're just gonna lose control at every 5 minute interval. You're just gonna lose more and more control, more and more agency. The best people that cash in, that's why I mean, hey, Edge as a heel character was always brilliant because he always cashed in when his agency was like just at its peak. I fully control this because they can't even fully control themselves because they're so debilitated. If Priest would try and do this, I mean, again, he'd go down in history as that took a lot of balls and it's a very creative cash in. But man, you don't got much brains up there, do you? Because you put your fate in the hands of a lot of people. So just looking at it logically, I would hope Priest would see the logic or more like the illogic in that maneuver. I don't think he's cashing in. I just think people are really getting to the point of like he's held on to it for so long, seemingly, and they're just like fucking use it. But I don't think he's gonna do anything with it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I apologize for zoning out. I know you did address Super Blues like question about it, but I
Yeah.
guess I kind of registered what you said less as we're not touching it and more as like we'll touch it when we're done talking about our predictions.
Right. And I'm only touching it because you wanted to broach it. If neither one of us want to broach it, then yeah, like that's why I already told him. Because you and I have done these predictions before, and you can even me saying, like, no, he's not gonna do it. That's just me being burned too many times as well. If he does, I'm gonna have my mouth open the whole time if he does, because I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Dude, I'm telling you, if that shit happens, it will turn my hype level for that match up from like a 4 or a 5 up to like a 9.
I can see why. I like because it would be almost like the same frenetic pace of like a championship scramble match, but like not under scramble. It's nuts. It's nuts. But yeah, let's there was a lead in I wanted to do for women's war games because I wanted you. That's right. That's right. So I wanted you to start a discussion about women's war games because unlike the men's, I know you love so many women in this, and to be fair, so do I. But like you had asked, you would open with the question: do the babyfaces win again? That all depends. Like, I feel like we all, and I think I can for once say confidently, we all, and speak for more than just myself, have really looked at War Games as the site where Bailey gets her fucking ass beat. Um, and especially because the signs are really like being there. Now, I didn't see SmackDown, so maybe you saw something that kind of changed the winds a little bit, and that's fair. So I will open to you with a question, just like I did with men's. But I know you'll be able to do more with this because you already did kind of give your thoughts about men's war games earlier before we got to it. Do you think Bailey is getting her ass beat? Do you think
Dude,
that this is going
yeah,
to be where
this
they
is the thing, right? Is like this is what everyone's predicting, including me. Like I've been saying this for so long, but there's been just enough of people that I talk to in other circles suggesting other things that it's got me wavering a little bit. And I really probably shouldn't be, but like there are people that are saying that the discord going on within damage control isn't going to be the one that boils over. It's going to be the tension between Charlotte and Becky.
Interesting. Interesting.
So because
Mm.
Charlotte and Becky still have heat and there have been little hints dropped that they aren't going to be able to work together, they're going to end up being the ones that can't coexist and then are going to not be able to work together and they're going to lose the match. So like it's going to basically just drag out the is Bailey going to get kicked out from her own faction storyline even longer, which would be a very Triple H thing to do.
Okay, so I know this is going to be me like really crowbarring Bailey getting her ass beat in. I just also wanted to float to you. Could it be possible, right, that the damage control wins and you've got the baby faces all strewn everywhere, but then they turn on Bailey anyway, and maybe Charlotte and Becky being fellow horsewomen, and because they have that connection with Bailey, they do try and help her. Almost like, Kevin's still trying to help Sammy when he was handcuffed to the ropes at Rumble.
Right.
Just, when Sammy made that last decision, with the chair shot and everything. And then they just get laid out, and then that's the damage control. Or do you just think, no, we're going to do the Triple H thing and baby faces, or excuse me, damage control wins because of Becky and Charlotte. So it's like it's a swerve. You think that it's going to be Bailey and damage control, but it's actually Becky and Charlotte.
Yeah,
and
like
we do,
how like I keep saying like I want Io to do like a Stardom style heel turn where like Bailey is holding Charlotte in a full Nelson. Io goes to swing a chair or goes to hit her with a shote or something. Charlotte moves out of the way. Io stops, looks at her like she's gonna stop and not do anything, thinks about it for a second, and then fucking does it anyway.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
okay. Well, what happens if the exact opposite happens, where Charlotte is standing behind Bailey? Io looks like she's swinging at Bailey, but Bailey ducks, and Io hits Charlotte on purpose, knowing that Bailey would duck.
Yeah, that could be. I guess the only other thing that makes me think about all this, right? Because it is getting around that time. You know, the wrestling season, a season that 12 is always very active in, the road to WrestleMania. It's right around the corner quicker than you think. And I know I don't want to say you've locked Bailey in as winning the women's rumble, but you seem to have spoken about it pretty confidently. I'll put it that way. And I feel like her getting this beat down and going on this journey, because if they beat her down, I will say this. If we get a beat down, I wouldn't want Bailey on TV for all of December. In fact, most of January, even because I would want her return to be at the Rumble. I want EO and company to crow about how they ended Bailey's career because the beatdown was that bad. But then again, if we do damage control winning because Becky and Charlotte imploded, does that give you pause about Bailey winning the women's rumble? That'll be my follow-up to you.
That's a good question actually, because I've been kind of penciling in Bailey as the Rumble winner now. But
That's what made
if
me, yeah.
but if they don't have the betrayal happen before the Rumble, then that kind of makes less sense. So, um, shit, that kind of throws a wrench in it. Well, then they could just have someone win the Rumble to go after Rhea, and I'd be okay with that. I just, for God's sake, please not like Naya or Raquel. Like, fuck.
Oh god, and it does seem like they're gonna build Raquel back up because she had a
Ugh.
whole war with Nia, and then she was like, "But the fans were cheering for me," and I'm like, "Oh god, no, please, God, why is the Raw Women's division seemingly in the mud? Is it just me? Am I just being overly negative? It just feels like it's in the mud. Fuck." Um,
Oh, it hurts.
Yeah, man, I'm just gonna lock it in for my sake. I think the build up to this has been beautiful. I think EO's damage control is amazing. Sorry, Bailey, I'm already trying to get used to it. Um, love that Kylie is evil again, but this seems to be a new kind of evil for her, which I also like because she's very quiet, very reserved, and she's probably having private conversations with EO of like, so when we dumping the bitch, and it's like, shh, Kylie-san, soon, and it just warms my heart, honestly. So I'm just gonna go with the babyface team winning because Becky and Charlotte were able to put it together, when everything counted, and Bailey eats the pin, and then Damage Control they come to, and they are just like, well, we need to excise the cancer and just beat the fuck out of Bailey. And I'm not saying this will happen, but I've been saying this. I think this would be a great time for WWE to allow color just to really make the brute down extra vicious and write Bailey off TV until Rumble. So yeah, I'm gonna go with team. You know what? Bianca's my favorite babyface of the bunch on this team, so I'm gonna say Team Bianca gets the win over Damage Control. I'm gonna lock that in. So what are you locking in officially, just to be crystal clear? Because I know we've talked about a lot at this point.
Um, I'm gonna lock in the babyface team. I'm gonna lock in the super team of Becky, Charlotte, Bianca, Shotzi.
Yeah. By the way, just a side note, because I know we're not going to talk about this on in review because on go home shows and when we have a pre predictions, we don't talk about the shows we've covered like in the preview predictions. Um, I really like Shotzi, and I think like she might have a breakout moment or two in the War Games, but her promo was weird tonight. I know the character she's going for, it just did not connect with me at all. So I'm gonna put that
I'm
out there.
guessing you haven't been in the Discord tonight?
No, I have not. Well, very
Dude, I
little, very
literally
little.
posted in live wrestling discussion. Where was it? Here it is. Shotzi kind of spastic, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
She is, yeah. She kind of spazzed out tonight. I don't really know. Like it gave that kid. Oh my god! Again, this is me being old and being, very probably way too in tune with Vine culture when it was around. But like that video of that kid who's like he was like a little kid who was like a skinny blonde spiky haired kid. He was a white kid, and like there were other kids that were filming him, and one of them like threw a basketball at him, and he headbutted the basketball, and he was like, "Yeah." That was the vibe that Shotzi gave tonight. I swear.
Oh, Ashton, I don't understand some of your references, but your giddiness is universal. Um, Yeah, I just want to also clarify that I will have a good chuckle, not a maniacal chuckle. Although who knows? Sometimes I've had a low chuckle and then it transforms to being maniacal if Bailey gets her ass beat. Mainly because I've missed babyface Bailey, and this just needs to happen. Kind of like May Sera being betrayed one day. It's all for the greater good. It's all for the greater good. So I will say our discussions have put a smile on my face. And but I think in a rare instance, I don't really think our discussions did much for my score, mainly because I'm not even entertaining Priest cashing in. Although I will say, if he does, like you, even though I think it's totally illogical and my brain would want to fight against that, I'd be so mystified by him doing that, my hype would just necessarily go up for men's war games. But I think I'm going to overall stick to that 8. So has your hype changed at all? Because you were at a 7, correct? So you were a point below me this time around. Have you gone up or down any?
Yeah. I'm gonna say 8. Solid 8. Solid.
Nice. Nice. All right. Nice. Nice. Um all right. Well, that was it, guys. I always like these because they're always nice and cozy, and it's like, hey, we're seeing this show. Cool. By the way, bro, I guess we should just establish for everybody our just live reaction itinerary. Are we skipping Gunther Miz and or Zoe Rhea? Because I know we're both kind of
I'll
whatever
leave it up
about
to you.
that. I'll tell you what, because I think you were a bit higher on Zoe Rhea than I was, and I do agree with you. It'll be a somewhat of match. No, but then again, I think Rhea's just going to retain. It's kind of an open and shut
So let's just
case.
skip both.
I think, yeah, we'll just skip both, which leaves Santos Dragon Lee, which you don't have to talk me into it because I think we're both pretty enthused about that. And then what? Just the War Games matches?
Yeah, buddy.
Holy shit. All right. Well, that sounds like a great night. All right,
I
guys. So you
mean,
got to hear.
the War
Yeah.
Games matches, again, like, the match themselves is going to be like 35 to 40 minutes, but then, like, we're also got to take into account the entrances, which are going to take like 5 to 10 minutes, and like the
Yes.
video package, which is another going to be like 5+ minutes. And that's for each match. So we're looking at like 45 to 50 minutes per match. So like that's right there going to be like an hour and a half to an hour and 40 minutes of the pay-per-view runtime.
Yes.
So like yeah, it's yeah. And not to mention like post match, both matches are probably going to have a post match as well, which is another like 5 minutes or so at least.
Oh, I think here's the thing. I think the Bailey beatdown, because that's another thing we should talk about. I know we talked about women's war games going last. Do you think it's actually going to main event the pay per view?
I think the
Because I
women's
do.
War Games is going to main event, yes.
Yeah. And so I could even see it being a similar length to Sammy getting the shit beat out of him back at Rumble last year. Or this year, I should say, this year. I could really see them prolong it just because they really want you to sit in it, and be uncomfortable and all that stuff. So I definitely agree with you about all that. And really, I just love that we have consensus that Daddy deserves our attention because I mean Santos did nothing wrong. So like why would we hold it against him? So yeah, I think that sounds like a very snug and cozy Survivor Series. I'm looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. Remember that'll be tomorrow at 8. I'll be honest, even though they've been doing it for a while, I'm still not entirely used to pay-per-views being on Saturdays. It'll never not
I'm honestly loving it. High
Oh, I'm
key.
loving it too. Don't get me wrong, because I know Sundays are like our personal off day, but there's a difference between loving it and being adjusted to it. I'm loving it, but I don't think even still I'm fully adjusted to it. It's still always kind of weird to me. But and yeah, so that's that. And I want to advise everybody, please leave a like as you file out. Subscribe with the bell icon notifications so you don't miss any of that 12 goodness. Check out everything we're involved in the description box. Follow us on Twitter and Twitch because we are the best wrestling podcast in all the IWC. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 4:30 for In Review. Should be a pretty quick one again because we won't be talking about like any WWE products. We may touch on NXT, but I doubt for that long. So that'll just leave AEW stuff. And again, not really much to say there, but we'll talk about a little bit, mainly our Lord and Savior, Christian Cage.
Oh.
And then, of course, the big thing.
Oh.
Yeah, yes, the appropriate fucking sound effect. But yeah, mainly, it's a Survivor Series live reactions, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Remember, it's only going to be 3 matches. Daddy Escobar versus Dragon Lee, and the 2 War Games matches. So yeah, be sure to join us for those. I think it'll be a fun time. And yeah, I always love the energy in the chat. So bring your A game, everyone. We're gonna need it. And Bailey's certainly gonna need it. She's gonna need you guys feeding energy. And yeah, we will see you guys then. So until then, be good to yourselves and each other. And tune in and peace out.